How's your mic, Kate?
He prefers to be called Michael.
That's actually very funny.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right. Oh, I'm talking to the side of it again, aren't I?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Me
What
and
episode
Mike.
was? Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 12 of the Atkins Labcast.
12. And so we have news.
What's our news?
We've decided, okay,
This is the news. She's decided.
I've decided we're not going to do video until there's like a reason.
Where there's imagery or...
And you're discussing directly the imagery because there's like two people, I don't know who you are, two people out there.
We love you, both of you.
Soz.
It's probably me watching it twice.
Probably. But it takes so much time and effort, and I am such a minimal gal. Fuck you.
Minimal, it means slack in Kate's terms. And not as in the app that allows you to organise your teams.
Do you know what? Look, it's Saturday, okay? I haven't done my hair.
It looks great.
I'm working. I may or may not. No, I don't have a bra on. And I've got a big daggy old jumper on, and I don't want to do like, hi, here I am publicly performing, because I may be rowdy and funny and all that crap, but I'm actually pretty introverted, and I don't love the weekly full performance.
Yes, I know.
I find it stressful, like having to pick an outfit and all that shit. So, but I like the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the vast majority of people are listening to this.
Well, I think we peaked at
on audio.
1,400
Stop talking about it.
numbers.
We don't actually know what those numbers mean.
No.
Like there are other numbers that said we got 50.
Yeah, but they were related to the video. And plus the Vimeo cost.
Oh, the Vimeo.
$400 we peaked at.
It's like 600, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
I
Anyway,
don't know. It was just ridiculous.
but
anyway,
the idea is we're gonna use the video surgically.
Yeah. So when there's someone where we go, oh my God, this one needs to be, this is a person who we're going to talk about their specific imagery and analyze specific
Well, there may be
stuff.
something specific about them.
Yeah. Then we'll do that. But otherwise, I get to remain
She gets to
slack
get her
as shit
slippers.
on my weekends where I don't do anything, and I get to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because and it's a lot of editing effort.
So let's get to our guest.
Look at you, bloody forever.
You can't do the same joke again and again.
But it is. You are constantly.
I know, because people don't need to spend 3 minutes listening to us complain about having to do video on a Saturday.
All right. Okay. Fine. Fine. Move me on to the next topic then.
That's right. So our guest, Amy Herrmann.
Yes.
We've known Amy for
Powerhouse.
a few years, maybe 5, maybe 10 years. I don't know.
The most casual, gentle powerhouse you've ever met.
I know. And the bringing in of babies has always been a thing with her. She's always been a baby.
The thing she won't talk about, because it annoys her, is that she is the victim of a viral video where her children... I forgot
about the viral video.
I can't believe you forgot.
Oh my God, I put this
her
in the
children,
notes. Hang on, show notes.
She's sick of it. She's just like eye rolling to the max on this whole bloody thing. So her children...
I wanted to ask...
She videoed her children after one of them had coloured in the other one with a lot of texture. And she was like, what are you doing? And she was like, oh, I made her a zebra. And she was like, why are you making her a zebra? And the little kid was like, but she loves being zebra. And it is so redonkulously cute. Yeah, and we said, but I love being zebra for like, I don't know, 2 years was one of our things that we just said constantly. And it went viral. Like, so a million people have seen this video, right? And because it was shared on Facebook, all these other viral scumbags like nabbed it and took it onto YouTube and made all this money on it. She could have pumped out 150,000 of those fucking books with the money she made out of her kids saying, I love being Zebwa, and she missed out.
Yeah. I think she made like $100 out of it, and others made thousands.
It's outrageous. So, so that's what I can't help, because
I know. Amy's wonderful. And the book is really, really cool and really poignant.
It's extraordinary. I mean, what I loved about the interview was that you guys talked about how hard it is to actually do something like that. And I think that's the thing that everybody misses out on. Nobody knows it's actually like really hard, and it takes for ages, and you just lose money.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where people don't They don't talk about. They're like, yeah, I've released a book and it's really great. Yeah, nobody talks about the fact that you nearly bankrupted yourself and all this crap happened. So I think the fact that she was quiet, and I didn't know that stuff about. What was it that she did the what's the company where she got the money through the internet?
Patreon.
Yeah.
Not Patreon, sorry. No. GoFundMe. Kickstarter. Where they take a portion of it, and if it doesn't, the credit card doesn't go through, then you like, holy Mulligatawny.
That does not sound like fun. So that was really interesting. I found I didn't know about any of that.
Yeah,
stuff.
because there's always got to be a cost to those services, and there's a reason why there's so many of them. They're obviously a great way of making things happen.
Yeah,
but it's a minefield.
Oh, well,
right?
apparently.
Minefield turns out to be.
God, I'm smacking into the microphone again.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting, and I think her book was very timely when it came out, and it's still fascinating and really interesting. Although, because we have teenagers, this week.
This has been a tough week for our teenagers.
This week's been an interesting week.
One of them has
teenagers.
started dating.
One of them started dating. This teenager that I live with is just my husband.
Not a teenager.
I know. You're not. You're really more like a very old man. And
I thought you told him as like a 6-year-old.
You have found this to be a complicated week for your emotional well-being.
Awful.
And but the thing about our teenagers is that all this stuff about body image, and they've got all that down pat, haven't they?
There's something about the generations that have come, into their conscious since this movement towards being kind to oneself and one another. That I hate the term. No, I don't hate the term. I actually really like the term of being woke about this stuff. It is quite a nice, simple shortening of all these ideas. That means that they're actually very considerate and very understanding and embracing all these ideas.
It doesn't mean they don't have issues like that they think they're ugly and all that crap that teenagers have when they're stunningly beautiful. No, they don't really do the fat thing. They're more like they're worried about their skin, or they're worried about their they want bigger boobs or smaller boobs. I can't remember it's bigger boobs and bigger they want bigger bums. They want bigger bums.
Really?
Yeah, it's all about big bums now.
No.
Got to have big bums. And sadly they have my genes, which means there are no big bums.
Trunk
So
in the trunk.
Now there's no trunk, let alone any junk. So so I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, that's eternal. Like that side of it is eternal, but I think the focus on imagery and media and how that affects, that hasn't changed, has it?
No, but I think the thing that Amy's done, which a lot of
use different bodies.
That's right.
It?
Yeah, but I'm going to try not to be too bitchy. But
what?
Why start now?
No.
There's been a lot of good-looking white women who have talked about body image and gone on and taken their makeup off and still look great, and then being told they're brave, which really
it's the same thing as people
pisses me off.
Lockdown with gorgeous houses.
Yeah. It just pisses me off. Because you look great with no makeup on, that just means you have really good bone structure and a lot of money to spend on skincare, and you can fuck right off. This shaming of makeup and all this, it just pisses me off. And you're not brave if you're a perfectly, well-formed, good-looking white woman and you take your clothes off. Like, you might be brave personally within your small group of friends, but not when you compare it to so many other different kinds of people.
Particularly people in Amy's book.
That's right. And the different range of issues. We can talk about our girls going, I want bigger boobs, smaller boobs, whatever.
But they're both perfect.
That's right. And from a societal expectation point of view, they're both traditionally beautiful girls. And that's not me talking as a mother. It's like what society expects. And that's what I think is interesting about her book, is that she's doing something entirely different, where it's not about just taking photos of a bunch of rich, white, somewhat pretty ladies in their knickers. It's an entirely different discussion, which I think is really important and often gets missed because the media would rather just talk about, some pretty girl. Like when actors and actresses go, makeup free,
I know.
Oh, give me strength.
Yeah, as I said, it's the same as like
fire.
I'm suffering in lockdown in my whatever.
Here I am in lockdown. I'm jumping on my helicopter to fly around my own house. Like,
well, those people who've moved onto the yachts and they're going to hovering off the coast of wherever they want.
Oh my God.
Anyhow, let's send everybody to the listening room to hear the fabulous Amy.
The listening room.
Well, I know.
That's where we're going to go now because we won't have the visual room.
I know. We can call them. I want to call them viewers.
You want to call them viewers? Why do you want to call them viewers?
Hogs.
Paul Hogan. Who's Paul Hogan?
Remember?
Oh,
Hogs.
Paul Hogan.
He used to go,
what did he
"G'day,
do?
viewers."
Oh, is that it?
Yes, that's what I want to do. But we can't
You
now.
can't. You have to get your own shtick.
Listeners.
Yeah.
Anyway, head off to the listening room and enjoy Amy, for this is our episode 12, which is pretty cool. And we've got some pretty cool guests coming up, so enjoy this.
Oh my God, do we ever.
And we will hear you after. You will hear us. I'm
Man.
You'll hear us
You
back.
poor
Enjoy. He is one of these people who has done what she said she wanted to do, which is which gives her all the points in the world, because it's the hardest thing in the world to come up with an idea and to feel like your life is being influenced by something and being changed by something, and actually to go, okay, I'm going to do something with this idea and this change. I'm going to engage with it. I'm going to make it as big as I possibly can. And I don't think you can get much bigger than this wonderful book, which is like 4 times the size of my head. It's fabulous. It really is amazing. So Amy, how do you start with this sort of thing? Are you all right? How are you doing? How about that? We should start that way.
I'm very good. I'm very good. That was such a lovely introduction too. Thank you. I haven't heard it sort of put that way, that idea of really going, I've got this idea and seeing it through. And I think that has actually been, it was a real labor of love, this project. And I love that you said that as well, that I, saw it through, because it was not easy. And, it took a lot of emotional labor, a lot of money, obviously. And it did happen over a long time. So 5 years it took me from that initial idea to seeing the book printed and doing the launch and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
So 5 years, like speaking to Steph Fuller a couple of episodes ago, for her, and look, she went through Uni SA, and you were a Uni SA grad, and she's like, 5 years, blah, blah, blah. And I would be surprised if you could do something of this, this quality and magnitude within 5 years. I think, you really, to see it to the end too, that's the thing. And you mentioned that's a real compliment. It's a genuine. People don't do things. They say they're going to do things. They try. There's no harm in trying. I think it's wonderful in starting, but they don't see it packaged like this. And I don't know where that energy came from. And talk to me. I mean, it's an important thing, right?
Yeah, I think, touching on where did the energy come from, I have to be honest, there were multiple times where I went, nah, I don't want to do this anymore. This is too hard. It's too exhausting. But I had, when I had got to the point where I'd photographed lots of these people, I felt I owed it to them to see this through. And that's one of the things that really kept me going was, I've said to these people, you're going to be in a book, your story is going to be heard, you're going to be seen. And, that's sort of what kept me going. Also, I do have to give a mention to my husband. He was supportive from the get-go, and he often says to people, and I don't know whether to take this as a compliment or how to take it, but he says one of the scariest words that are said in this household is, hey, I've got this idea. And I think my ideas are really exciting. And he does too, obviously, because he supports them. And I think he knows better than I do that I don't sort of come up with small ideas. So before I knew this was going to be a big thing, I think he did. And that's why he knew it was important to me as well. And so anytime I sort of went, I can't do this anymore, he would say, take a break. Let's step away from it for a little bit and then we'll come back to it. And that's what I did. So I did have times where I would, be in contact with the people that have been involved in the book and say, look, I'm just going to take some time to sort of readjust and get things right, and then I can get back into it. Because I think that was one of the hard but most rewarding things was photographing these people. And, I had to bring a certain energy to those shoots as well. It wasn't just a matter of plonking people in front of the camera and taking a portrait of them. These, for the majority of these people, they, weren't comfortable having their photograph taken, let alone partially nude or completely nude. So, there was that vulnerability, and it was my job to make them feel at ease and, not only just get them comfortable, but to really get them showing what they wanted to show. I'd have a quick chat with each people before I photographed them and say, what do you want to tell people? Because that's what we're going to try and capture. And some people would say, I really want to be sexy. I want to be confident. I want that to come across. Other people would say, I would like a more serious sort of photograph because what I want to talk about is a little more serious. And, that was my job then to really capture them in the way that they wanted to be seen. And
that's quite the heavy lifting project. Like just think about, the thing that that catches me is use different bodies, the thing you wrote, and you can explain that in a sec, but I was just going to say, it's hard enough getting professionals in front of a camera and lighting them, professional models in front of a camera and lighting them to do whatever's happening, selling a product, selling themselves, whatever it might be. It's selling an idea. Then you put people in there who are not professional and not particularly confident physically in themselves, generally, I'd expect, and then making something that's really important out of it. Like you must have lost years of happiness in this worry, trying to get it right, and
Yeah, absolutely. I think, it took, and because the project came from a really personal place as well, so it really did sometimes take a toll on my mental health. And so, that was why I did step away sometimes and just take a break. Like I said, it was always from a personal place. And I don't think I actually realized that when I first began the project. And it wasn't until I sort of had discussions with my therapist, and she was like, this is kind of like your healing project. And she's like, and she sort of explained it to me, and I thought, I'd never really thought about it like that. I think I started the project quite naively, and as you said, use different bodies. That was sort of where it came from, was this little sketch in my journal from back in art school, and it had an image of a woman, I think it was from a Bonds advertisement or something like that, and in underwear, modeling that. And I thought, it'd be great to do a series that was similar to sort of advertising campaign modeling lingerie or underwear, but using different bodies. And that was that very simple idea, what I thought was very simple at the time, and then later realized this is a lot more complex than what I had first realized. And having those discussions, going back to my therapist, having those discussions, we sort of, I guess, teased out this idea or this reality that this is kind of me addressing a lot of my own issues through these other people, which seems
100 of them
now, but
100 other people.
Yeah, but so it did get heavy sometimes, and certainly even after the days where we would shoot these people, I was just so exhausted by the end of the day. But it was I think a real mix of emotions, and from everyone that was photographed too. We were sort of all on this huge high about what had happened, and but completely exhausted. So often we'd start off and say, let's all catch up after the shoot. But by the end of the day, we were just sort of, we're just going to go home and, sort of debrief about what happened. And I do want to talk about I sort of said about me giving energy to the people that I was photographing, but it was a real group energy as well. After I photographed 4 of my mates, which was where it started.
So it started with four people in the studio at one time, or
yeah.
right?
Yeah, at one time. So I sort of thought, how am I going to do this? Am I going to sort of photograph them individually because it's sort of quite a private sort of photograph that I was taking? And then when I got them together, they all said, oh, no, I'm happy to, have the others watch me. That's fine. So there wasn't I hadn't set up a structure to the shoots for that first one. We just went in there. We were just really just mucking around in the studio, taking some photos and seeing what happens.
Were you renting a studio? Was that at home?
No, we hired a studio for the day because I really wanted to give them this feel for what it might be like to be in a studio and have their hair and makeup done, that whole, process that a model might go through. And I thought it'd be great to give people that experience, the whole package sort of thing. And yeah, they were quite happy to be photographed in front of each other. And it created this really, really unexpected but very beautiful vibe, really supportive environment. We played music and that sort of thing. And they were just, they came into the studio like, oh, I don't know about this, Amy. And by the end of it, they were ripping off their bras and dancing. And, it was really beautiful. And it was such a nice thing to experience as a group of people as well. Not just sort of one-on-one. And I think it would have been a very, very different project, a very different feel if I had photographed these people one-on-one. So from then on, after I decided, yes, I'm going to make this into a project, my initial idea was to photograph just 10 people. And then I really quickly realized
that would have been easier.
Yeah, it would have been easier, absolutely. But I wouldn't have been able to tell the message that I wanted to tell in just 10 photographs.
10's a prototype. 10's a tester. 10's an art school project, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So I sort of, I don't know, I just went, 100 sounds good. And I just went into this not really knowing what I was getting myself into. But yeah, from that point on, I thought it would be great to photograph people as a group, individually, still, but have them all in the studio together. And I did speak to people and said, this is how I'd like to run it. If you're not comfortable, we're happy to, move people to a different area and still photograph you one-on-one. But everyone opted for, to be in the group, and they just went, yep, I'm just going to dive into this. And
wow.
And I think that gave them a really, really powerful experience too, because it wasn't just that, being photographed by me. It was this whole experience of being vulnerable in a much bigger group setting as well, which, my hat's off to them.
Yeah.
At the very end of the project. So I'd been putting all these people through this, and everyone kept saying to me, are you going to be in the book? And I thought, no, I don't want to sort of take the place of someone else. But then we went, this is my book. I can make it as many pages as I want. So that's why it ended up being more than 100 people as well, because I couldn't say no to some people. So yeah, I was photographed in LA when we went over there.
So tell me, it was mostly done in Australia, or was it mostly done half and half overseas?
No, mostly in Australia. So we photographed, there were quite a few shoots done in Adelaide just for the logistics, being local, and, finances and that sort of thing. It was much easier to do here. But we did a couple over in Melbourne as well, one up in Townsville also. And we had people fly in from various places as well. So if we did one in Melbourne, some people would fly in from Sydney and that sort of thing. So we were able to sort of cover quite a bit of Australia, which was really nice. But then we went, when I first set up the project, I set up a website where people could actually register to be involved in the project. After speaking to a few of my friends and saying this is what I want to do, lots of people, even just when we posted those first few images on Facebook, people sort of went, oh, I'd love you to photograph me like that, which was really, really surprising. I think lots of people love the idea of sort of, I guess, challenging themselves a little bit and, stepping outside their comfort zone. So I went, okay, let's make this an actual thing. And so I set up the website, had a page where people could register, and it just asked them to tell me a little bit about themselves, their rough age, where they're located, and people just started registering quite quickly. I remember when it got up to about 35 people, which isn't very much, but I remember thinking, oh gosh, like this could be a really big thing. And to date, we've had over 1,200 people register. So it sort of just kept going up and up and up. And I went, not only did that tell me that people were interested, but it told me that this project was something that was really needed as well.
Yeah, that's the big thing.
And a lot of the, where it asked people to explain or tell me a bit about themselves, some of those stories were just incredible. And I wish I could have photographed everyone. But I don't know that my husband could stand by that. 100 was a limit. But
so the project actually stopped. You're not still going.
Sorry, it has stopped. Yes. I mean, yeah, the book was the full stop at the end, I think. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that could go on forever, really.
Yeah.
Which is why I do like it when I see people doing similar projects. I've had a few people come to me and go, oh, Amy, such and such as this photographer's got a project that's the same as yours, like they're copying. And I think, no. What's happening is that we're all seeing the same issue, and a lot of creatives are coming up with a similar solution, which I think is great. I can't photograph everyone. So, the more projects like this, the better. More people getting that experience and having their stories heard, having themselves seen, and, I think it's great. I've gone on a bit of a tangent there now.
No. It's spot on, because the idea of it finishing and then perhaps other people picking up the baton, because it's a reasonable way to look at it, because we know that stuff is just so brutal to change. And it's interesting, over the time that you've done this book, we have had some moves in modelling to have the acceptability of plus size models and models with not completely abled models, and I'm not quite sure what the correct term is, but you've seen it. And we're watching Project Runway, and what's the other one that's done recently that Heidi and has broken away and done her own show, and they've used a mixture of models, and it's absolutely fabulous. So you're really a part of all of that. You're a brick in that wall.
Yeah, and I think it's nice to see. I still think there's a long way to go, but definitely, even just in that 5 years that I've been working on this project, I've seen, more and more representation happening, which, is great. And we just need more of it. We really do. I think that's the thing, that was kind of the whole premise of this project too. When you don't see yourself represented anywhere, it's really disheartening. It's a real kick in the face, I think. So, and when you do see it, it's so exciting, to look up at a poster or look in a magazine or on social media, wherever, and to go, oh my gosh, I look like that, or, this person has a similar story to mine as well. And that was one of the things as well. Initially, I was just going to have a book with the images and no story alongside it. But, the stories are just incredible. So
they are. And you wish the book, for those of us who don't naturally sit down and pick up a book and read, you wish you could open the page and these people would talk to you. And look, there's ways of doing that, and that's not the idea of it. I found myself flicking and looking and saying and asking their story, and there it is. It's there in their own words. It's the most powerful part of the book, I think.
Yeah, and I think that their own words as well, because lots of people ask, did you interview these people, or, that sort of thing. And it was really important that things were written by the people that I photographed. And because, especially some people, their voice really comes across in the way they write. And I think, when you pair that with their image, you really get an idea of this person speaking to you or about their story. And that's a really beautiful thing. It would have had a very different feel if I were to interview them and write it out myself, or write, a piece about this person that I photographed. So having them speak for themselves was really important to me. And the same went with their image. So every image that's in the book, the person chose their image. So we would sit down at the computer together and go through all the images that we shot, and they would choose which one they wanted in the book, which was hard for me sometimes because I'd have my favorite.
You can let go.
You know, as a photographer, you're sort of going, you don't like this one? I tried not to sort of, you know, push people one way or another. But yeah, it was important that they chose their image because that was how they wanted to be seen. And same with the words. That's how they wanted to be heard, what they wanted to say. And, you know, that was a hard process for people, whether it was because, you know, writing is not a strong point, or just retelling their story was traumatic, quite difficult as well. So, you know, that process took quite a long time. But I wanted to give them that space to be able to do that. And, you know, we helped a little bit putting together pieces if writing wasn't their strong point, and that was fine, but it was still important that it was from them.
Yeah, it was their story. No, it comes shining through with that. Tell me, on the nuts and bolts side of things, you did a bit of traveling as part of it. How long were you in the US for them?
We were just there for 3 weeks.
That's long enough, really.
Yeah, so when we were doing the shoots in Australia, I'd photograph about 8 people on a day, and that was sort of a good amount. You know, it gave me enough time to sort of chat to people. I should also mention my mum came to a lot of the shoots with me.
I did see that in the book. She's mentioned, you know, that's just fab, isn't it?
Yeah, she was my right-hand lady, and she really helped people feel at ease as well. So when I was shooting, she was able to sit and chat with people, which helped them sort of relax into things a bit more as well, which was really nice. In the States, however, it was just me and my husband, and we took the 3 kids as well.
Just because you like the fun of it all.
So we had the 3 kids there at the shoots as well, which was fine. So I had my baby on my back sometimes, and but those shoots were very different. So for a couple reasons, I really, really wanted to shoot in a nice studio, just because I thought I'm never going to get this chance again. And I thought we had so many people coming in, and I wanted them to walk in and just go, wow, this is a real, you know, a real big deal. And I wanted them to, you know, experience that whole model sort of shoot and feel really special. And so in New York, we had this incredible studio that overlooked the Hudson, and it was, you know, it was what you see on movies and stuff. I couldn't believe that I was shooting there.
I remember the photos from it. I was like, oh my God.
It was incredible. And that's how I went, I probably won't get this opportunity again anytime soon. And neither will these other people. So I wanted to experience that with them. And then we had, you know, these makeup artists lined up all along these windows. And so our models came in and just went, wow, this is just amazing. And we had 20 people that were photographing in New York. So it was a full-on day. I didn't get to sort of do that one-on-one longer sort of chat that I would normally have, which, I mean, you know, it still worked out, but it would have been nice to talk to them a little bit more. A lot of them I'd had correspondence with online and that sort of thing, so you get to know people a lot before I even met them, which was really nice. But I still, you know, before each shoot, sat down, did a really quick, what do you want out of this sort of thing? How do you want to be photographed? Some people said, I don't know. And so we just shot a whole bunch of stuff.
Yep.
And they would then look at the photos and go, yeah, this one sort of suits what I want to talk about a bit more. But so over in the States, there was New York, and then we went over to LA.
Yep.
Had an equally beautiful studio there. And 20 people again. So we just did the 2 days because of the cost of the studios. So we tried to sort of cram in as many people as we could in those 2 days. So we photographed 40 people in the States.
That's heroic, really, jamming it all in like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's insane. So, like, you've touched on it a couple of times, but again, back to the nuts and bolts, how did you pay for this damn thing? Like, you said financially it was a massive strain, so I'm gathering you paid for it.
Yeah, so we did run a Kickstarter campaign, and that was quite successful, though there were things that I learned from running a Kickstarter campaign.
Share, do tell, like we could all learn.
Okay, so obviously, we raised 30,000 through the Kickstarter, minus Kickstarter percentage that they take then, which isn't a huge amount, but it's still a bit. And then things like credit cards that don't go through. So there are a few people that, pledged money, but then at the end of it, because they only charge at the end of the
right, that it's successful
period, which was 30 days. So there were quite a few lost in transactions that didn't go through. Plus, you offer rewards for people. So some of the rewards were things like T-shirts, some temporary tattoos and that sort of thing. And obviously the book then was a reward also. But T-shirts, I didn't know. I thought I had worked out how much it would cost to send things to the States, but I miscalculated that. So I lost a lot of money in shipping costs. Plus, then I needed to print these T-shirts, which I also thought that, okay, maths is not my strong point. Let me just say that. So there were a lot of costs that I hadn't really worked out properly. So from that 30 grand, it was not very much left by the time we had sort of done what we needed to do and sent things out. But having said that, it did allow us, I probably had about 15,000 maybe left out of that 30 grand, which obviously is a substantial amount still. Not enough to print the book, not enough to go to the States. So we paid for that out of our own pocket. So, but I still think we probably would have done it the same with Kickstarter, because I think if we had asked for any more, we might not have reached that goal. Right. And then you get nothing.
Yes.
So I think we still asked for the right amount, and though we got less than what I was hoping for, it was still, a substantial amount to be able to pay for studios and that sort of thing. Certainly all of Australia was covered out of the Kickstarter campaign, which was awesome. But the printing of the book, which obviously was a pretty heavy hit, and then going to the States. But we sort of went, well, this is a family holiday as well, so
yeah, totally. But look, I sometimes, and this is possibly sounds irresponsible, it's not good advice, speak to your accountant, but sometimes if you cost up a project beforehand that maybe is this important and you go, oh, it's not going to work, then it's lost.
I think that is exactly the case, and that's what some of the conversations that my husband and I have had before as well. If we knew how much this was going to cost overall, and I don't know how much it's cost because I don't want to know that number. I think what we've done is important, but I think if we had worked it out, that total amount, we would have just gone, no, we can't do that. But we did it over a period of time as well.
Yes. It doesn't hurt as much, does it, when it's spread out?
Yeah. And, that was one of the things that's slowed me down a bit. Sometimes I just went, no, the finances, I can't do this. And my husband was always the one supporting me, saying, no, let's do it. Let's see this through. Like, this is, you've worked so hard to not see it. And, that first day when I went into the printers and I got to hold the book in my hands, it was amazing. And to flip through, and I hadn't, you see these images on your computer screen all the time, but to see them in print and to see the details as well.
And see them in a book that has got like a the number on it, and it's going to sit on a shelf, and it's going to be collected, and it's going to be, it's a real important body of work that's just been yours. It's your idea. And, and I always, fiscal irresponsibility that I mentioned, I look at the failure of our national broadband network and, where Australia and the world right now, it's an online world. It's always going to be from now on. There's no two ways about it. And if that happened, and, back in a bit of boring, dad history, but if Dwight Eisenhower said, let's not build the interstate highway system in the US, even though we can't afford the damn thing, like, if they didn't say, then America would be a failed country. I mean, don't look at Trump and think that it might be a failed country right now, but their success is because they built a network without knowing how they're going to pay for it. And your success is that you took this book, you took this idea, and you go, I'm just going to keep going. Do you have a feeling out of self-preservation what may have happened if you stopped short?
Oh, I think there would have been regrets all the time, and I certainly would have felt like it wouldn't just be, I'm not happy that I didn't do it for myself, but there would have been that I've let people down. I think that would have been the bigger part for me, especially if I had started it and halfway through gone, sorry guys, I'm out. That would have been very, very difficult for me personally to deal with, knowing that I had let people down.
But I don't think any one of those people would want to think you've been crushed under the weight of the book. I don't think.
No, and that's we did have, a closed group on Facebook that we all spoke together, and I always told them where I was at with things, and everyone was always extremely supportive. Of course, no one was ever like, oh, come on, Amy, get on with it, sort of thing.
No, that was yourself inside whipping yourself, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. So everyone was always supportive, and I had no idea how long this was going to take. So initially, this sounds really silly when I say initially, I thought I can do this in 12 months. We're going to get the funding. I'm going to photograph some people. We're going to make it into a book. Done. But then as it went on, and more people registered as well, I kept sort of finding myself going, oh, this person would be great to photograph, and they were only available at this time, or, they were in America, and at the beginning we jokingly sort of said, let's go to the States, or let's go to Germany was actually another country that we had a lot of a big response from.
Really?
Yeah. And then we just sort of went, let's just do it. Let's just go, because this book is, it was already getting quite big, and I think there would have been some regrets there too if we didn't go to the States and photograph, some of these people. Actually, that's the woman that really, really sealed the deal was Laura from Mexico. And she had messaged me and said, she said, I know I won't ever be able to be photographed because I'm in Mexico, but I just want to let you know I really love your project. And I said, thanks. And we sort of got talking, and I said to her, if you could get to LA, would that be a possibility? Maybe we could photograph you there. I hadn't even spoken with my partner at this point. I was just playing things out in my mind. And she just went, yeah, I could do that. No worries. And so then I mentioned it to Howie, my partner. I said, there's this really amazing woman from Mexico, and she said she could get to LA, and, you've always wanted to go to the States and watch basketball games. We sort of like played around with the idea, and then eventually we went, let's just do it. Let's just go. And, we'd already had so many other people register for the project as well. So, we had Laura fly in from Mexico, Belange fly in from Canada. We had a couple of people from the UK as well. Lots of people flew interstate in the States and to either LA or New York. So, we managed to get some really, really amazing people over there too.
Yeah. I mean, there's something about the society where they do like to celebrate, and I'm not surprised that Germany was the case, because they really celebrate in many ways diversity there. So you said that you sometimes did some shooting with the kids on the back, and how old are your children now?
So now they are 3, 5, and 7.
Okay, so just doing those other maths, you did all of this with that.
Yes. Yeah. So there were yeah, there was one birth in there.
Oh no.
So yeah, people just
3,
come
of course,
along.
yes.
Yeah.
Far out, woman.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, it was fun. It was fun at times and
Yeah.
challenging. But
They're really tough years with toddlers and little ones. They are distinctly difficult.
mm.
Tell me, when you were finding yourself struggling and those particular difficult times, you had to remove yourself from the project. Was it the whole thing that was too much for you, or was it what you felt, the obligation to these people in the project, or what was the?
Yeah, I think it was a mixture of a lot of things. So definitely, yeah, that obligation to fulfill this for the other people, but also, yeah, it brought up a lot of my own personal challenges and that sort of thing with eating disorder, a history of that. So that was difficult at times, I think. But it did also help to address a lot of that, which had been hiding in the dark for a really long time.
Yep.
And hadn't ever been addressed properly. So there's, though it was hard, I think it was good that a lot of those things did surface, came to that sort of boiling point and were able to be addressed then. But yeah, and, just life in general gets a bit tough sometimes, and then adding something like this on top of that, yeah, sort of hit breaking point a couple times there. But yeah, I always had the support of the people, and it created this really nice little community of supportive people that we could talk to in our group or one-on-one and that sort of thing. Especially, there are a lot of women in the book with or past eating disorders, so it was kind of nice to, I guess, connect with people like that and be able to talk with someone that understood as well.
Yeah.
So
It makes you feel a little bit less alone, that stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that's been one of the really nice things as well. Like, I see people from the shoots have connected on Facebook and social media, and they still talk now, and it has, for a lot of them, it was because they had similar stories and that sort of thing. So they were able to go, oh wow, you've got this similar story to mine, and these really beautiful friendships were formed through the project, which, I don't think could have happened if I had photographed people one-on-one, for example. So having that group environment on the days where people could sit and chat with each other and really get to know each other and then form these friendships afterwards was, yeah, really nice.
And that network's prevailed to some extent, has it? It's still there, and
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And I love it when I see someone post an image on social media, and then one of the other people from that day that they were photographed on comments, and I think, oh, that's so nice. They're still supporting each other after all this time, and yeah, it's really lovely.
I've always wondered too. I don't know if you were thinking about this sort of a project. Did you seek any professional advice? Because you're skating around the edge of some psychologically, tricky stuff for some of these people, and you don't want to do the wrong thing. You're not their therapist. You're providing an exposure therapy of sorts for them, aren't you? You're giving them an opportunity to do something they may not have felt comfortable doing, but so did you have some help with that?
No.
Oh no, amateur psychology yet? Dun, dun, dun. You can add that to your resume now.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I think for a lot of it, there wasn't that a really long, I guess, amount of time that I was with someone one-on-one. So we didn't sort of get down to nitty-gritty stuff, or a lot of that was spoken about before the days on the shoot.
Yep.
So, and it was spoken, via messages and emails and whatnot. So we're sort of able to have a lot of those difficult conversations, not face to face. So when it came time to meeting each other, we sort of knew each other quite well, and were able to just sort of get on with what we needed to. Not to say that made it any easier for the people that I was photographing. Obviously, stripping down if you've got, issues with your body, taking your clothes off in front of someone's going to bring all of that up again. But I like to think I did a pretty good job of making people feel okay, which is interesting because I have quite bad social anxiety. But something happens when I'm holding a camera and I'm able to connect with people a little bit better. I don't know what it is, but I seem to be a lot better.
It's
like my safety net sort of thing.
It's your Dumbo feather.
Yeah, I'm able to connect better. Whereas, I think about when I go to events and that sort of thing, and I'm not photographing it, and I'm just there as, a normal guest, and I have to talk to people, and I just really struggle. I really, really struggle. Whereas if I'm at an event that I'm photographing, or, I can talk to anyone. So, don't know what it is, but
I think that's a super common thing. I really do. I think there's a lot of people, and it doesn't sound right, but they hide behind the camera or use the camera as their thing, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially when you're doing great stuff with it.
Yeah,
it's a superpower, right? It's a superpower. I keep looking down the book. It's a superpower, and you can use a superpower, or you can bloody squander it. And heaps of people just sit around squandering. And look, just flipping it a little bit, you're also running a business. You still are doing people photography,
yes,
portrait stuff, and that's always been chewing along underneath all of this.
Yeah. So obviously at times it slowed down a little bit, but always photographing weddings in the background, and I do lots of like family shoots. I love working with kids; they're fun. I do the serious stuff with the adults, but kids are just they're just funny, and photographing them, you just never know what you're going to get. So I think that's always going to be there. And at times I've sort of gone, I want to have a break from that, but I always come back to it. So the same with photography. I think, maybe I'll take a break, but I'll get that new idea, or
Well, what else would you do? Like, have you thought about Amy in another parallel universe, what she would be doing?
Well, I'm actually studying teaching at the moment.
Oh,
so
cool.
Yeah, so that's been cooking along in the background for the last year as well, just studying online part-time, so to do primary school teaching. But my photography is always going to be there. Like I said, whenever I think I'm going to give, have a little break from it, I just can't. I always come back to it. And it's, whether it's photographing families or weddings or working on, a new project, whatever it is, I always come back to the camera. So,
what led you to it, to Uni SA? What led you to picking up the camera in the first place?
So I actually went to uni with the intention of studying interior architecture.
Wow.
I did 1 year of that, and I wanted to study visual arts, but everyone told me I can't get a job from that. So I went into interior architecture because apparently I'd get a job at the end of that. I did a year of it, and I did a year of people telling me to think outside the box, and then I did, and they'd go, no, a little bit further out than we were expecting, come back in a little bit. So that didn't work for me at all. So I transferred then to visual arts, and I loved it. And I went in thinking I was going to specialize in painting, and I still love painting. But then we did photography, and I'd always done photography as well, but I didn't think that was something I was going to specialize in, and I just loved it. It was great, and I started off doing self-portraits because I couldn't find anyone that was willing to get nude for me. So out of lack of models, I photographed myself in a lot of my work, and I think it was just I guess having that history of, struggles with my own body. I think that's sort of where that whole wanting to photograph bodies came from as well.
I was going to ask you, what's the nude thing, and how does that?
I don't know. I just sort of went, I'm allowed to do that here. This is really fun. And I hadn't sort of had that opportunity before, and it certainly hadn't been encouraged before. So, it was great having teachers like Mark Kimber as well encouraging me, and that was great. So I went with it, and that's kind of where I've stuck really. Like that's sort of been what I've been interested in is just bodies and particularly women. And I guess, I looked at lots of different issues and lots of different themes and that sort of thing. And eventually I went on to do my honours year, and that one was looking, I guess, at sort of taboo issues to do with women's bodies, so things like body hair. And at the time I was pregnant with my first child, so I think my personal life has always influenced my work. And I remember Olga Sankey saying to me, "Oh, your work is going to change now that you're pregnant." And I said, "No, it's not. This is what I want to do for my honours. This is what I'm going to stick with." And she was like, "All right, we'll see." And I took 6 months off to have Sov, my first baby. And then I came back to finish off my honours year. And yeah, of course, it completely changed. It was still about bodies, but I did a lot of, I guess, looking at the changes that our bodies make and what women sort of face after pregnancy and that sort of thing. So there was lots of images of lactating breasts and stretch marks, and still with the body hair because I like body hair.
That's when we first met. That was what you're fabulously focused on was, hair.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What's Amy doing?" And I said, "I think she's got a thing for body hair. I think that's what she's doing." And Kate goes, "All right, good on her. That's fabulous." It's nice to see that she's representing that area of things.
Yeah, and they were really fun pieces as well. I think I've got a bit of a funny sort of sense of humour, and I really loved bringing that out in that work. And I keep thinking, it'd be really great to sort of pick up a new series and work on something new. That was, I think with that series that I did in my honours year, it was really fun to make, but it was serious at the same time. And I think that was one of the great things working on things like that, is that I could take a serious topic but make it more interesting for people to view, and they could take in those ideas in a humorous sort of way, which was fun. Which is quite opposite then to the book, which is quite serious. And I guess it's still, on that theme of bodies, but a much more serious sort of.
An individual. It's not about bodies. It's about people.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
So it's such a challenging topic, and you must like writing those lines. And I think you're in a privileged position, being a female who's really good at it. How does it work? I'm going to be the numpty cis 50-year-old dad here. I know blokes doing this stuff. It just looked on in a different way, and I do it too. You see some fella who's doing a lot of nude photography, and you immediately the radar goes up and go, "Oh, yeah, what's he really up to?" And it's just awful, and I just feel terrible about it, and I feel terrible that feeling it brings up in me, and I feel terrible hearing it discussed amongst other people. And I feel, guilty about liking the pictures, and I just don't know. I mean, this is a question for a therapist, but you're the closest thing I've got right now, Amy. Answer the question for me, woman.
Look, and I totally see where you're coming from. And I guess I know a lot of male photographers that do shoot nudes and stuff and do it beautifully. But
do they feel they have to hide? Do they feel like they're not as public about it as you can be?
Yeah, I definitely think there are feelings of that. And I've had those discussions with mates of mine that shoot that sort of stuff. And they often say, it's not fair. You get it, you can just shoot whatever you want and no one's going to question you or call you sleazy or, that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think I can get away with it a little easier. Even just approaching people, there were some people that I wanted to photograph for the book, and I could just slide into their DMs and be like, "Hey, I'm working on this project. Do you want to get nude for me?" sort of thing. That coming from a male photographer would probably be perceived a lot differently. I know I would be wary. So, there's definitely a difference.
We've really screwed it up, haven't we, us blokes?
Well, that's it. There's some people that, really messed it up. So.
No, and it's been such a long history of of it. It's eternal. And one of the things that I loved hearing you talk about was, fondly speaking about your husband and your mother. And I think and I know it's different these days, but if you looked at any time in history back before the last 10, 15 years, there would be a bloke standing there taking the credit, and there would be all this stuff holding him up. And I know for a fact how my family have been propped up by the women in it entirely through the whole process. And, we'll have our different roles and that kind of stuff, but it's just wonderful to see. And it's like a glimmer of hope that this is one of those things that is actually changing, that we can be a little bit more understanding of that. So if I was, and I'm asking for a friend now, if I was a bloke that wanted to approach someone about a nude portfolio, silly question, but how do you do it right? Like,
I don't know.
but how do you do it? Like, if I really like it, I'm really good at it. Like, I know a bunch of people are. I got no idea how you do it. Like, without feeling like a sleaze, or do I need would I have to have a website with a strong portfolio with recommendations from other people, or what's the
Yeah,
the process?
I think probably the best thing really is, and this is easier said than done, but word of mouth. If I had a mate that said, I modeled for this guy and he was great, made me feel comfortable, then I would be going, yeah, sure, I'll give it a go. Like I said, easier said than done then to have recommendations from people. I mean, I certainly feel like, having that portfolio and that sort of thing is good, but for me, it would still be recommendations from other people that have photographed with that person and had a good experience. Because unfortunately there are some really, some real duds out there.
100%.
And, the same goes. Especially for women that do nude modeling, they all talk and they all support each other. And the same goes for people that they love to photograph with. They'll say, stay away from this person because they're no good. So yeah, I really feel like it's recommendations from.
It's so twisted up, isn't it? It's just so awful. And years of the advertising industry and sort of mixed up with with aspects of the porn industry and all that kind of stuff have just messed with the whole thing so much.
Yeah. And I think, I think it's actually interesting because I think it's before that as well. Even when you look at art, back through the centuries,
100%.
It all started there too, didn't it? Like the way women were represented and that sort of thing. I don't know if you've seen Hannah Gadsby's new show, Douglas. She's so eloquent
Incredible.
about the way she talks about art and, just the way she describes some of those paintings and stuff. She says it in a jovial sort of way, but it's, she's bang on, like the way that people, women were represented and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Well, one of the joys this year is I've done a art history for photographers with Gavin Blake at the Centre for Creative Photography, and Gavin did a great job of laying all that out. And I was like, like just agog and go, yeah, of course, it all makes sense. They're all, they're guys getting a bit older, hoping that, that they could still be relevant to younger women. And, just like far out, really. We're still caught in this cycle. We haven't worked it out yet.
Yeah, that's it. And I think it's really interesting when you look at, those paintings and you compare it to today, you're like, that's a long time for things not to change that much.
Yes. 100%. That's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, and that actually I probably didn't connect that dot now thinking about it, but yeah, I mean, it's my feeling was, oh yeah, it's just nothing's different. But then you go, oh, hang on, this is a hell of a lot of time there. Things should be different.
Should be quite different, yeah. Obviously there's been things along the way that's progressed and stuff, but yeah, when you actually look at the amount of time that's passed, and things that women are still facing, you sort of go, I feel like maybe should be a little bit better by now.
Bloody well, that's incredible. I'm just horrified. Tell me, what are you doing next? Because we're getting close to around an hour, and I'd like to give you back your day because I've been blessed with your company. Thank you. But tell me, what's next?
Well, like I mentioned, I'm studying teaching, so that's sort of my next venture. But that'll take a few more years before I'm there. And yeah, just still working on photography from for my business. That'll probably always be there, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't have, and I haven't sort of planted that. Hey, I've got an idea yet. But I'm sure something's going to pop up. It always does. So yeah, I mean, as far as the book goes, I think I've got about 70 copies left out of the
wow.
book.
So people can still get it. People can still get a copy.
There's a few left still. Yeah, which is nice. I remember reading once about, I read up a lot about self-publishing a book, and I read one article that said self-publishers rarely sell over 100 copies. And I thought, oh shit, I've ordered 400. And I'm picturing, all these books in my house, stockpiled for the next 10 years or whatever. But yeah, we ordered 40 and we've got about 70 left. So I'm pretty stoked with that. I didn't know what to expect, really.
That's incredible. That really, there's a running joke in the photographic industry. I don't know if you heard it, but you can tell the photographer in the street, it's a guy or the girl with their car parked on the street because they're, this is the landscape photographer, because their shed is full of the books they couldn't sell,
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
That's what I was picturing, and I thought, oh gosh, but yeah, no, I'm pretty happy with what I've sold. So I'd love to get some into some libraries. I think that would be great because obviously it's a very big book, which makes it quite expensive. So it'd be great to make it a bit more accessible to people. So we'll see. That's another. Everything was a learning experience with this, so I'm not really sure how to get books into libraries, but
well, what you do is you call the State Library up and just call the State Library of South Australia and just speak to acquisitions and say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm a South Australian, I've made this book, this is what it's about, this is how many copies I've sold, what do I do? And they will give you the advice. That's their job is to help you out.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, that's where I'll start because I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like making a book, I really had no idea about that either. But
you did it. And now you know.
That's it. Yeah.
And now you know. So I can see your project you're going to be working on teaching. You clearly, working with kids is fabulous because I was just listening to you and trying to work out maybe the things you suffer with adults. And I'm familiar with the idea that adults put this metaphorical suit on, the skin on, that makes them something that they're not. And the kid is the raw thing. It's the real deal. It's the tainted soul.
Yeah.
And that's what you've got in your book. And so I think it's a good thing. And I think, once and I said to Dave Severs, you need to let your kids grow up a bit and then you can go and do some cool stuff after that. Because you're going to have all this time and you're going to, oh my God, what am I doing? And
I think that, my youngest is starting kindy next year and I think, oh my God, what am I going to do? So, perhaps, I'll start working on, this will terrify my husband when he hears it, but maybe I'll start working on a new series next year.
You can get that superhero suit back out of the cupboard and get the camera and do something. Yeah, well, I wouldn't be surprised at anything that you do, and that's the joy of watching your work. So we'll put some links in the show notes to some things. So I might get you actually to send me an email if there's anything you want people to see and find, including how to buy the book. Because it'd be really cool if a few copies got sold through that way, and because it's a real piece of value there. But look, thank you, Amy, for your hour this morning. It's been an absolute joy. But I love being Zebwa.
I have to say, you would look pretty cute as a zebra.
These are striped horses.
Are they?
I don't know. Are they white with black stripes or black
Do you know
white
who would
stripes?
know?
Hillary Hann.
Correct.
She is definitely going to be one of our wonderful interviewees.
Hell to the yes. And then when the world opens up and we win the lottery, we're going on safari with it.
Yeah, I'd love that so much. It'll be fabulous.
Safari.
Maybe a bit longer than when the world opens up because we actually need to save up money to go on safari.
Win the lottery. Did you not hear that key
win the
element?
lottery, yes,
right.
of course,
Okay. Thank you.
Because we're going to do it. We'd have to do it really, really well.
Oh, hell yes. I'm not going to go on safari and deal with
you want British
bugs.
British Raj
That's
campaign
right.
chairs.
I want 4 guys just standing on opposite
you.
4 corners of me. No. Fanning me with cans of bug spray.
Do you want the one where giraffe leans in the window.
Yeah. I'll take one
breakfast.
of those. I'll take one of them.
Okay.
We'll do one of them. And I just want, bug protection to the max.
Yes. So that was cool listening to Amy. It was wonderful hearing a story again. It's a pretty interesting tale of be careful what you wish for, isn't it?
It so is.
Yeah, like the idea of an idea and a task that you let's shoot 100 people. Yeah, great, no problem. Then it turns into a project that is so astoundingly deep and interesting, but you can't give up on it because
long-suffering husbands as well.
No, how wonderful that family is, and how supportive, and how brave is she to take it on with the little ones, and
then have a baby in the middle of it.
I know,
that's cuckoo.
She's a legend. She's a legend.
Just mad.
Any rate,
now what are you going to do now?
Well, because you know what? Yeah, our beautiful Cassie St. Clair has partly retired because we did get to the last colour last week, even though I didn't look ahead and find out there was nothing after black, which of course it makes sense. We go from white to black as the spectrum does. So we're going to our plan B for moments of colour because there are so many moments of colour out there.
Okay, I'm getting my seat.
Uh-oh, she's getting her seat.
See, when this is not video, it won't matter that I'm sitting down. No one will care.
No, they won't. As long as you don't yawn, because we can hear you yawning.
You cannot. I always go over here when I yawn. No one can hear me yawn.
I can hear you yawn.
You just hear me emotionally.
So, you know, when I give talks about, because I talk about.
Did you just say when I give talks?
Yeah, I know. I talk about colour and colour management.
Tell us about it, Oprah.
Theory.
Tell us about your talk.
Don't give me Oprah stuff. When I give talks about colour, I talk about the human vision system and how we can perceive light, right? And how as a Homo sapiens, because I'm fancy. I actually have no training in this. Please forgive me. I'm a total amateur, but I love it.
You are not a total amateur. You're literally paid for this.
Not to talk about and
no,
lecture
but
people
to
on
know
colour.
about it.
To know about it. Okay. So we have rods and cones in our eyes, right? So if you did a cross-section of the
now,
back
hang
of our
on.
eye.
I went to a stupid Christian school and we had the passage in the Bible. This one's for you, DJ. The passage in the Bible where there was a log in an eye. Aren't there logs?
No, there's not logs.
Doesn't God know about everything that's in all of our eyeballs? Oh, he's giving me a look. Withering doesn't even cover it.
So, at the back of the eyeball, there's things
Logs
called
and
rods
eyes.
and there's things called cones,
Okay.
right?
Oh, no logs.
The rods are like long thing, wormy things,
Uh-huh.
and the cones look like butt plugs. Right? Because we all know that shape now because it's been in popular media.
I did not know you just said that.
They do. They're like a I suppose like a coney thing, right? And they're sensitive. So these cones you've got in the back of your eye. They sit at the back
should
of your
not
eye.
be using that word just after talking about butt plugs.
They have. Shut up, woman. So they are sensitive to different spectrums of the electromagnetic spectrum of light, right? Radiated light.
Yeah.
Okay. Some are sensitive to red. Some are sensitive green. Some are sensitive blue. Okay. Red are very long wavelengths, right? Long waves. Big distance between the troughs and the peaks.
Okay, yeah.
Short wavelengths, the blue light, where it's like up and down, up and up and up and up and up. That's ultraviolet. Right? That's that end of the
I
spectrum.
knew there was another reason I liked blue.
And green is in the middle, like those middle. wavelengths,
you're
right?
so green, my
I
darling.
know, it's lovely, isn't it? Like my new phone, by the way, it's green.
Your new phone is so sexy.
Yes, anyway.
Oh, God.
So,
What are we going to do with your old phone? No, shut up.
So we're sensitive to that, and that is how we perceive colour. The rods are about movement and like, here comes a threat. Wow. Catching things out the corner of your eye. They're not really about colour.
Okay.
And as the lights go darker.
So the butt plugs care about colour.
Yes.
The other bits don't.
And they need a lot of light for them to work.
I mean, right?
Yeah, shut up, woman. You need a lot of light to read the colour, because as it gets darker, it gets harder to perceive colour. And you notice it with digital cameras and with film particularly, that as things get darker, the colour performance of the receiving device and everything looks a bit more black and white. The colours pull out the equation. So some people, and we might tackle this aspect of it in another talk, but some people can perceive a little bit more subtlety in colours than others, right? And to the point where creatures like butterflies have 5 sets of cones in their little butterfly eyeballs. Okay, or the equivalent thereof. And some humans can actually see have a virtually a fourth cone. So butterflies. Now there is a creature that has even more than that. That has somewhere between 12 and 16 cones, and it's called the mantis shrimp.
The mantis shrimp.
Yeah, it's like a little prawn. Well, actually, it's not that.
Do
little.
We eat them?
You can, and people have over the years, and some of them actually grow quite long. Like
Okay.
30 centimeters long.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big prawn.
That is a big prawn.
But what makes them different from regular prawns is they have like mantis front arms.
Ah, okay. They have like
Like little, and they're... and
is that an official term for those front arms?
Yeah. Like buddy, grabby grabbies.
Yeah.
Grabby grabbies, not buddy
grabbies.
buddies. So there are people who keep them as pets, and they can actually force a jet of water, which is actually not technically correct, but before they understood what was happening with these arms, these jet of waters could break the aquarium tank glass.
Shut up.
So they're pretty impressive. So these are little arms that flick out, and I've written some statistics down here. It takes them 23 milliseconds to accelerate this little arm from 0 to 83 kilometers per hour and create 1,500 newtons of power in that thing. And as a part of that little whoosh out, not only they whack their prey with this thing,
Oh, yeah.
but they also create like a water jet it's not really, it's a cavitation of that action, which is water boiling around the surface of this thing moving. That creates a second hit. So they really kill and stun their prey.
What's this got to do with their eyeballs?
Yeah, that's right. What has it got to do with their eyeballs? So they're really vicious, and there's two kinds of them. There's ones that whack and ones that stab. So these are these little things, right? So that's the nasty side of them. They're pretty vicious little things, right? They have their eyes out on stalks, indicating stalks with two fingers, and they have 12 to 16 different kinds of photoreceptors. And they have this fabulous in-eye processing. So our brain takes the red, green, blue data out of our cones and makes the colour information. But these little eyes on stalks have actually got a lot of that processing inside their little stalks. And they can see way down into the ultraviolet spectrum, into the blue side of it. Not so much into the infrared, but they can see way beyond what the humans can see in ultraviolet. So they
can see further?
Yeah, they can see further into
Okay.
that, and they're sensitive to it. And like the reasons why they've evolved to be this way is not particularly clear, but it's probably around danger, food, and mates.
And being down, are they lower?
Yeah. Well, they're not that deep in the water, 20 metres, sort of sort of thing.
That's
They're
all right.
kind of an estuary type of critter. There's plenty of them around Australia. There's plenty of them around a lot of parts of the world.
But they're not what we put on the Barbie in America.
No, but they are eaten. People do eat them, and they're done with sushi. You know, they're filleted on some sushi.
If
I
we
think
eat them,
the better
is
sushi
our
rest-
eyesight better?
No,
Damn it.
unfortunately. So part of the ways they deal with this incredibly sensitive color vision is that they have filters in their eyes, which much like camera filters and enlarger filters that change and allow them to see these subtle variances. They are very, as I said, susceptible to ultraviolet light. They can actually see polarized light as well, which is incredibly rare. So when we put a polarizing filter in front of our lens on our camera, we have a circular polarizer that as we twist the polarizer, it cuts out certain light and allows us to not see reflections on that light.
It's a Josephine.
And so when
Our child has just busted in
child's
on
just
our
busted.
recording, and she's going to show us. Oh, baby. Oh,
Wow.
my God. She's just done the most beautiful
Painting.
self-portrait ever.
Yeah, it's lovely.
We will take a photo of that and put it on the show notes.
Yes, we will.
She says. That's amazing, babe.
Wasn't
We're
that
going to have to
fabulous?
cut all this out, but it's amazing.
So I'm going to clap us back in. So we got a spike. So they're also susceptible, sensitive to polarized light. So polarized light cuts out reflections, which might actually be a really helpful thing underwater, you know, with reflections, and also a way of breaking down what you're seeing and seeing perhaps a little bit beyond it, and also dealing with things with shiny skins like barracudas, which are a predator to these little things that come out with pointy teeth. Nasty big incisors.
yeah.
So yeah, it's all a really cool thing. And a part of the polarizing thing is you've got to rotate these lenses on a front of us, but their little eyes on stalks can twist as well. So it's insanely good.
That's cool.
get this.
Do they want a job at the lab?
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? A little shrimp on the front counter.
How good would it be?
They can detect. This system can be used to detect cancer. This
Are you
visual
kidding?
system. It can be used to detect cancer. So they're like cancer detecting. Well, it's not like a dog that comes up and sniffs
Can
your
we
cancer.
get a pet one and we can just like get it to do some
but
colour?
how thick a glass do you have to have because they can break the glass? Like,
That's
do you really want
weird.
one of those?
That's really weird.
Yeah, so it's whilst they're not out there using them to detect cancer, the same sensitivity to polarized light and ability to deal with polarized light is used for looking at cancers and detecting the difference between certain cells and those that are cancerous. So, it's incredibly simple. So that's similar. Part of the species, one of the genus of the species, one of the types of Mantis Shrimp species are monogamous. They live with their other mate for 20 years.
Oh, that's
20
so
years, how cute is that? And they do biparental.
20 years, we got them beat.
They do biparenting.
Biparenting?
They both look after.
Is that what they
the
call
young
it?
ones.
Biparenting?
Biparental.
Oh.
They're biparental carers.
So you mean they're
So
not
take it in turns to look
under the weight of the patriarchy?
No.
Oh,
So isn't it
shrimp
really good?
fighting the patriarchy.
They also do ritualized fighting. It's like capoeira. Capoeira? What is it? The Spanish dance fighting. And the last fact, because I know it's all about vision, but the last fact about these cute little creatures, because they are all about the eyes, but they also form sort of these odd-looking wheels to move between tidal pools when they're out the water. So they roll up in a little wheel type
You're
bowling,
kidding.
and they can go from 2 meters hop between tidal pool to tidal pool. So some of them are monogamous.
Okay,
they
we're
roll
going to
on
find
like
video
wheels.
of them.
I don't know if there's any
wheeling
video
around.
of it. They co-parent, which is kind of cute, and they have this amazing vision system. So
I want to be one of these.
how good would it be to take one to the paint shop to help pick out the paint for your
Yeah.
room? Because they could go, I don't want that white, but I want that white.
That's amazing.
So that's your moment of colour.
That's so good.
How cool is that, huh?
That's so good. I want
Thank
one
you
of
so
them.
much. I'll put the show,
Right, I'm
show note
standing
links.
back up again.
I'll put the links in the show notes to where you want to read a bit more about those shrimps, because a lot of work's been done at the Queensland University and the
Queensland.
Australian Museum. So there's a bit about it there.
Brilliant.
So yeah, and there's a good chunk about it on Wikipedia. And I'd like to wish you all good luck
Would you?
and tell you're all counting on you. Good luck for this next week. To our friends all around the world.
And good luck, America.
Good luck, America. Good luck,
we still
people
love
of
you.
colour and
Anyone
This
who's
is
having to deal with the crazy over there.
But we also might be in a really interesting period of change where we actually might still get some statues coming down.
Yes, bring all the bloody statues of all the stupid
we
white
may
men
as
down.
well put that stuff in its place, and so history is well understood and well
history
shared.
is slightly
and fair.
slightly better and slightly
Well,
fairer.
we acknowledge what happened. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, well,
And move on.
this is the pessimist in the
No, it's going to get better. It's going to get better.
You're so beautiful. This is why I married you. This is why.
Yes.
Right.
All right, my friends.
We will not see you next week.
You might.
You will hear us next
See
week.
what the next episode's going to be.
Oh,
You'll definitely hear us.
Crying out loud. Okay.
Thank you for your support.
Love you.
Like and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.